Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and well, darling, look out, because my hair is coming down. That's my accent. It's really good, right? Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. I'm suffering with a little bit of a hay fever here, so I'll keep up as much as I can. But I want you to know you're my ride or die.
You are definitely my ride or die. I thought about you a lot when I was watching this movie. I was like, we would totally go off a cliff together. Spoiler. Oh, spoilers for 1991's Thelma Louise, y'all. It is celebrating its 30th anniversary. And I had a theory that this movie would hold up like a motherfucker. And it did for me. And if you haven't seen Thelma and Louise, you should stop right now, watch Thelma and Louise, and come back because it's really, really good. It's directed by Ridley Scott. It looks amazing, this movie. And it's written by Callie Curry. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. And this was her first screenplay, which is crazy to me. Her first screenplay. What am I doing with my life? She went on to write Something to Talk About, which I watched a couple weeks ago because I knew we were going to do Thelma and Louise. That one does not hold up like a motherfucker. But she also did the TV show Nashville, which people super loved. I've never watched.
People love it.
And this stars Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis. And there's some dudes in there too. Harvey Keitel, Michael Madsen, Christopher McDonald, who always plays such a fucking asshole. Stephen Tobolowsky, I think.
Yep.
And Brad Pitt.
So when I first saw this in the movie theater, and it was all this stuff was about Callie Curry wrote the script. It was her first script. It was female driven, female leads. And it was like, I got to see this thing because it was freaking people out.
Yes.
Especially I would say the ending. And so I go to the movie theater. I see this movie. I love it. And there's a point where Brad Pitt shows up and it's like the sun is shining all of a sudden. He has so much charisma and sex appeal. It's ridiculous. And he's in this thing like less than 10 minutes.
Seriously, save some sex appeal for the rest of us, Brad Pitt. You fucking sex appeal hog. I just remember because I don't know if I had seen him in anything else before this. I know he had done movies before this, but this was like his big breakout role. When he shows up, I was like, who the fuck is that?
Everybody did. I don't care if you're gay or straight or male or female, whatever it is, whatever your pronouns are.
Yes.
Brad Pitt is sexy to everybody.
He is in this movie for sure. He's fucking fire. But the movie's not really about Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitt in this movie. Anyway, so everybody saw this movie back in the day. And like you said, it was super controversial and everybody was talking about it. And what it was controversial for is so stupid. Like it's, because first of all, this movie was marketed. I don't know if you've seen the trailers recently. The trailers are bananas because they kind of position it as this like female buddy pick comedy. And it's like
they didn't this is the thing is they didn't want to scare away men from going to the box office. So they had to sort of put it up like, look at these great looking women and they're on an adventure and they're best friends and they're into hijinks in their car. And it's like, oh, no. There's a hell of a lot more going on here.
Yeah. So
to freak people out.
Yeah. Thelma and Louise. So Louise is Susan Sarandon and she works as a waitress at a diner and she's pretty buttoned up. She probably used to have a wild streak. Not anymore. She's pretty buttoned up. And then Thelma is Gina Davis. And she is married to Christopher McDonald. He is a prick. He treats her like shit. And she's just kind of a bored housewife, and they are best friends and they decide that they're going to go on this like little weekend vacation together at a fishing cabin and just kind of get away from it all for a couple of days. And on the way there, they stop at some trucker bar and have a couple of drinks and eventually like Thelma is like dancing with some guy. He gets her, she gets trashed. And then he takes her outside and he tries to rape her. And Thelma, spoilers.
It's very violent.
It's very violent. He tries to rape her and Louise shoots him and kills him. And they go on the run because, sadly, they know no one will believe them when they say he tried to rape her. They'll say, well, she was dancing with him all night. She was asking for it, kind of thing. And they know that that's a thing. And sadly, nothing, I don't think very much has changed. And that's another way that this movie really holds up. And as they go on the run, pretty much everything that can go wrong goes wrong for these women. And then it ends the way it ends, which we're going to talk about in a little while. But when you saw it in the theater, did you know where this movie was going to go? Or did you see the trailers and you were like, it's going to be a fun buddy movie with Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis and hilarity's going to ensue?
No, I remember I used to watch Siskel and Ebert to get their opinion on whether a movie was good or not. I know I read all the reviews and they all said the same thing. It's about it's exciting. It's two women. They're on this adventure. Back then they didn't say trigger warning. Back then they didn't think at all to do that. So when Thelma is being attacked in the parking lot by this asshole, he hits her face. He's very violent with her. And so there's that. And then to answer your question, no, I didn't really, I kind of knew what I was going into. It was a lot darker than I thought it would be, but also I think it was a lot funnier and there's a lot of light moments in here that I super remember and I super love, but it's an intense tale. It's an intense tale about friendship.
Yes.
And having somebody's back.
This movie, I saw it a lot when it came out. It played at my movie theater and it played there for a long time. And it is one of the movies that I would just go in and watch. Like I would just take a break and like go in and like watch Thelma Louise. So there's certain parts of the movie that I've seen over and over. And then there's parts that I just haven't seen as much because maybe the timing didn't work out and I didn't, but I saw it a lot. And I got to be there at the end of this movie, 3 or 4 times a day, sometimes 5 times a day, and listen to the audience react to that ending. And
so tell me about that.
And listen to what they would say as they were walking out. And this ending really divided people. There were people who fucking loved that ending. And once again, we're spoiling Thelma and Louise. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But, it ends with them driving it off a cliff into the Grand Canyon and they are going to die. But it freeze frames and it like kind of cuts to like happier times and, and then the credits start. And there were people who really loved it and they were like, I love that. They knew that how it ended. They knew that they're going to die, but it doesn't show that. So it doesn't feel like such a bummer, even though it's a bummer. And then there were people who fucking hated that ending. They thought it was bullshit. But the reason they hated it was different. So there were people who hated it because they really want Thelma and Louise to live, which I totally get. Yeah. We really care about them. We don't want anything bad to happen to them. I get it. But then there were just people who were like, the ending's a fucking cop-out. And I was like,
fuck you.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think so. And then, there were a lot of, dudes who would walk out. I'm sorry, mainly dudes. I know, hashtag not all men, but mainly dudes sometimes would come out and say like, every guy in the movie was an asshole. And I was like, well, that's not true. It's just the movie wasn't about you.
Exactly. I mean, Harvey Keitel is not an asshole.
Yeah. Michael Madsen's not an asshole.
No, he's a good guy. I mean, the rest are fine. I mean, just some of them are total creeps.
Yeah.
But that's part of the story. I mean, we're talking about women that, one woman had escaped Texas. We find out that Susan Sarandon's character had to leave Texas. She isn't allowed to go back there. And they're in Arkansas or Mississippi when they start.
I think they're in Arkansas.
Okay. And then Louise, that's Louise. And then Thelma, Gina Davis, she's in this loveless marriage. He's very controlling. He treats her like a child. They never had kids together. She's 35 at the time, and Susan Sarandon was 45.
Yes.
Which seemed middle-aged at the time.
Yes.
But they were super hot.
Oh my gosh.
They look great.
They look amazing.
And they look like they've been best friends forever.
Yes.
Like you totally buy it right from the start. I love the fact that it's an late 80s, early 90s decor everywhere, which is just heinous and it's ugly. And that's why homes are, though. They're crowded. Like people have notes and stickers and they have shit everywhere on their fridges. I mean, that's just how people really are. And I like that. I mean, it just adds to the chaos. And then when they go on the road together and they go to the bar, there's this guy just like a predator, just like looking for them.
And Louise is onto it
right away. Yeah.
Yeah. Louise, she knows like instantly that this guy's a creep. She didn't know how much of a creep, but she, she's seen some shit. So she knows. And Thelma is not like that. She's led a pretty sheltered life. She makes it very, she says at one point, I've never been with anybody but Daryl. JD's, I'm sorry to hear that. Or whatever. So she's just very trusting. Like she talks to people and she tells them things. And she's also not super comfortable setting her boundaries or being rude to people. She doesn't want to be rude. And that's how things start to escalate for them. And I'm not saying like Thelma's at fault for anything that happens in this movie. That is not what happens, but it is because she's so naive that she continues to make bad choices.
So one of those choices is she hooks up with Brad Pitt. And that's not a bad choice.
I was saying that's
the opportunity. That's not the bad choice.
Yeah.
You go for it, I say. I don't care what your sexuality was before or after. I mean, you got to go for that. But when she meets, so she spends the night with him, and then she meets with Louise in a diner, and they had gotten $6,000 from her savings account, and Michael Madsen brought it to her. So they had this nice moment together. And then Thelma's like showing off her hickey, and her hair's a mess, and she's just got that just got laid look. And
I love the way she walks into the diner. She's like, hi. And she's just like, oh, my hair got messed
glowing.
Up. Yeah, my hair got messed up. So funny.
And then Louise like, so where's the guy? And she goes, oh, he's back in the room, just hanging out. And Louise is like, oh, fuck. Like, that's where the money is. Like, Thelma, you moron. Like, take the money with you, She
trusts people. She's very naive that way, but she does have a really interesting arc in this movie because they both do. And it's one of the things I love during this rewatch that I got to notice that I didn't really notice before is they take turns being the strong one. So like
exactly,
Louise is the one who's really strong at first, and then after Brad Pitt's character steals their money, she kind of crumbles. Like she just crumbles up, and that's when Thelma is like, I'm on it. Like, you need to stop it. I'm going to take care of us. And then she just starts robbing stores, and she does it because that's what she learned from Brad Pitt. Like she just repeats exactly what Brad Pitt did.
And then she runs to the car, start the car. Start the car. I love that. That's like my favorite thing.
And I just love how she even says like, I think I'm just naturally good at this. And she is.
She is.
All of the stuff where they get pulled over at one point, and all the stuff with the cop made me laugh because it was just, I'm really sorry about this officer, but you're going to call this in and find that we're wanted in like 3 states, and I can't have that. And, and then she puts air holes in the trunk. She shoots air holes in the trunk, and the cop starts crying, and she's just like,
I know.
And she's like, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. And then Louise is like, I apologize also. And like they are very polite. about their robberies. And, they trade sunglasses with people. They take people's hat, and they kind of gather all these they take little mementos of things on while they're going along, and how, by the end, they're dirty. They've thrown away their makeup. They've given away their jewelry. They're wearing Thelma's wearing the hat that she took from that trucker that I'm going to talk about him in a minute. But fucking trucker, he's so gross. And just, they look like completely different people by the end. But they're both strong at the end. And then they make this decision together and they drive off the cliff, and it hit me in the feels this time.
It totally did. I love Harvey Keitel when he's not being an asshole. Yeah. It's such a nice pleasure to see him playing the good guy.
Yeah.
Christopher McDonald as a douchebag is always fun. Thelma, get your butt on home.
Yeah, that's right.
I love she leaves a meal for him by the microwave. Tapes it.
Yeah, she's like, I left him a note.
It's just, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of douchebags in this movie, but guess what? Women have to deal with a lot of douchebags in our lives.
Yeah, and also, have you seen any other action movie that stars two dudes? All the women in it are either they're there for sex or they're nags. This is the kind of, this happens all the time. It's, I'm sorry that this movie didn't cater to exactly what you wanted. That's what I wanted to say to those people back then. I'm like, it's just not for you. That's okay.
Right.
I want to talk about Harvey Keitel because there's this really great scene. I love it. There's a lot of these little moments that I just super fucking love. I just love this movie so much. Instead of renting it, I actually bought it because I couldn't comprehend that I didn't already own it. And there's this scene where they have already killed the attempted rapist, and there's this waitress that works at the bar, and Harvey Keitel is questioning her, and she looks super 80s and amazing. She's got the big hair and the pink shirt with tassels on it because she's working at a country western bar. And she says they're not the type to do this, and she says that tidy one, she left me a huge tip. And it's this little thing that shows, it says so much about that woman, because she knows, and they say she's you think waiting tables means I don't know people. She does know people, but also it says so much about Louise. That is someone who works in the service industry and fucking gets it. And she treats people,
absolutely.
And she treats people well. And she gave her a huge tip. And
by the way, her friend is being taken away by some weirdo rapist.
Yes.
And so she's got to cover the tab and then go out and get Thelma before she gets attacked.
Yes.
And she still thinks enough of herself to leave a 30-40% tip or whatever it was.
Yes.
I mean, she still had that in mind to do that.
That's
she's awesome.
There's these little things. There's another one with another waitress. They love waitresses in this movie, where Louise and Michael Madsen are at the diner, and he's getting ready to go, and they're talking and they kiss, and it's really sweet, and he leaves, and the waitress is like, it's a good thing he left. We thought we were going to have to call the fire department or whatever. And it's just this silly little moment during a really heavy scene. And this, there's all these little moments in the movie that say so much, and but they're little, that I just love. There's all the FBI guys at Christopher McDonald's house, and they're all watching some Cary Grant movie, and he tries to change it to sports, and they all get pissed off. I just think that's really funny. I love it. I love this movie. I'm so glad I bought it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So how did you feel when you first saw it, that they were going to take off? Well, they kiss.
Yeah.
And then they hold hands, and then they head off. And there are people who even thought that was, made up stuff about that. Were they really in love with each other or whatever? I'm like, no, I think they were just best friends.
I think they were best friends, and they know what's going to happen. If they do this. And yeah, that seemed all very in character to me, to be honest. Like, I just remember the end. I saw it and I was sad that I knew that this meant they died. Because, like I said, I super care about them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. But also, I thought the movie had the biggest fucking balls for going there. Because I feel like another movie, maybe with a different director that isn't as tested or had the clout that someone like Ridley Scott had, or, you know, and still has, would have changed that ending. You know, the car would have landed in the Grand Canyon, they'd drive off, like, you know, or something like that, you know, and it plays Bad to the Bone and the credits roll or whatever. Like, that's what would have happened. Like, I just remember thinking, holy shit, what a fucking ending. What a big ending.
It is. And also in a crappy movie, what would happen is they would get, it would turn into a farce, and then they're going to be arrested, and then there's going to be all this footage of them, like Thelma and Louise on the run, and people rooting for them. And it could have, that, like, all that cheesy shit. I think it's much better this way.
Yeah.
Like, nobody really knows about it. These two women are on their own, you know, exacting revenge against sexism as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to face the end together. I mean, they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to, like, I don't know. I kind of get it, what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, Thelma says at one point she can't go back. That she can't go back to the life she had before. And, you know, I mean, could they have turned themselves in and maybe stood trial, and maybe they wouldn't have been convicted, but they most likely would have been. And I don't know. I get it. It's not the choice I would make, FYI. Like, I'm a fucking pussy.
No.
I'd be like, I would turn myself in immediately. Like, I did something bad. I'm wrong. That's because I'm a fucking wuss. I get it. But they're not. And I really like this ending. I thought it was awesome. And people who were so freaked out about it, I wonder what their reactions were when they watched something like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which has the same kind of ending, you know, but for some reason that ending's fine, but this one isn't, you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the other thing I wanted to say about when Harvey Keitel is questioning the waitress, and he asks her, you know, does she know anyone else who might have done this? And then she says, did anyone ask his wife? I hope she's the one that did it. Like,
yes.
I really like that waitress, I guess is what I'm saying. And where's her spinoff? I'll watch
Where's her origin story?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll watch it. The soundtrack is really good too.
It is. It's got a lot of catchy songs in it. We had the soundtrack at the theater, I think. So I've heard it a lot and I really liked it. When Thelma tells Daryl to go fuck himself on the phone at one point, I remember the audience breaking out into cheers.
Oh,
like they love that. And I also remember, like I said, when Brad Pitt showed up and everyone was like, oh.
Well, that and when the truck driver, when they have him pulled to the side of the road and then they just like just go like, what are you doing? That's disgusting. How dare you? And then they shoot up his truck and it just explodes. It's amazing.
I love that scene so much because there's a lot of things going on in that scene. I love that. First of all, I just love that he keeps showing up throughout the movie. And at first, like Gina Davis's character is like, I love truck drivers. They're the best drivers on the road. And then he's like, blah, 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 like doing all this gross stuff with his tongue. And he's like, you know, pointing at his dick and all. And they're like, ew. And they see him like 3 or 4 more times. And they finally they're like, I think we're ready to get serious. Let's pull over. And so they pull over and he does all these things before he gets out of the car. He takes off his wedding ring. He grabs all these condoms. Like he thinks he's going to fucking get so much pussy now. He's so excited. And he gets out of the car and he does like a little dance, like he's like, yay, like he like does a little twisty dance. I'm doing it like you could see me right now. And then and he walks towards them and he's like doing a little sidewalk, like, hello ladies. Like he thinks he's so great and he's so gross. And he's like, I've been noticing you too. And then they just say, like, how dare you talk to us like that? You know, how would you like it if someone talked to your mom that way, or your sister or your wife or anything? And he's like, huh? Like, huh? He's so stupid. You know, and then they're like, I think you better apologize. And he's like, fuck that. Like, he's such a dick. And so they blow up his truck, and I love it. I'm not sad.
Yes, it's perfect. Yes.
I love it
Fuck
when they
guy.
Seriously, fuck that guy. I love it when they blow up his truck. There's a couple of other things that got like, and by the way, audiences cheered when his truck blew up. And I remember the audience really, really cracking up after Brad Pitt's character is questioned and he walks by Daryl and he says, I like your wife. And he starts doing all these like obscene gestures basically about what he did to Thelma, and like Christopher McDonald losing it, and the audience lost their shit. They thought that was the funniest thing.
That was hilarious.
Because it is funny. I get it. Oh, I love this movie. Did I mention that?
I super loved it too. And I love the locations. It's hard not to make Utah look great, or just like the Midwest, those long stretches that they're out there. But yeah, I loved it too. I love the clothes. I love like how they change from the big hair and a lot of makeup to, like you said, they go very natural. They're just like jeans and a t-shirt. That's that. And the music is great along the way. I totally buy their friendship. I feel like they've been friends forever.
Yes.
And they're totally okay with it. You know, I love it. It's so yeah, it's a great movie.
There's just so many things that stick with me. This movie's hitting me in a different, obviously, like I was 20 when I first saw this movie. You know, I'm not 20 now. I'll just say that. So there's things in this movie that hit me in a different spot now. So there's this thing about in the movie where Louise says to Thelma, like, you get what you settle for. And that's why she's married to someone like Daryl. And I just, at the end of the movie, I was like, they're not settling anymore. They're like, they've thrown out, like, there's a scene where like Louise is going to put on lipstick and then she's like, fuck that. And she like throws it out. And, you know, they start, the thing where Louise like gives away all of her jewelry and just things like that. Like, I don't know. It's so good. It's just so fucking good. And there's like, I know that there's probably like a million like fucking think pieces about this movie, about like just about the way they look in the movie, how they start with all the makeup and the hair, and yeah, like you said, how they look so natural at the end, and how they shed those things along the way to at the end they're like their authentic selves. And I think it's just fucking awesome. And I love the way the movie looks. Ridley Scott shoots the shit out of this movie. It looks amazing. And then there's just the fact that they are such good friends. You totally buy it, even though they're very different people. And there's all this stuff with like, so Louise, Michael Madsen shows up. He's her like on again, off again boyfriend. And he has never looked sexier than he does in this movie. I think he looks really sexy.
Great.
He looks really good in this movie. This is before Reservoir Dogs too. So like he was another one that like he would show up in things and I'm like, yeah. But in this one I was like, oh, hello, handsome. Like he's very handsome in this movie. And they have like really good scenes together. And I love that they're having this like very serious adult conversation, and then it cuts to Thelma and JD, that's Brad Pitt, and they're playing these fucking stupid games where you like slap hands and like, but I also like that they do seem to really like each other. He fucks her over and he robs her. But
yeah, no, he's not a great person.
No, he's not a great
great orgasms, I'm sure. which I'm sure she really appreciated.
Yeah.
I know I would.
Yeah.
But I think, but the fact that he takes all of her money, like, what an asshole.
I
like,
know.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I like their scenes together. Like, I thought they were fun, and they were like having a good time, and they were like joking and teasing each other, and it was just a very different vibe than, say, what's going on in Louise and Jimmy's room, where they're like having this very serious life or death conversation, basically. And meanwhile, in the other room, Thelma and JD are fucking playing patty cake, and then they're fucking their brains out. It's like very strange thing to cut to, but I think it really works. And there was something. Oh, when they were blowing up the guy's truck, I love when Louise says to him, "I bet you called us beavers on your CB radio." Sure did. I hate that. I hate being called a beaver. Don't you? It's so crazy. Do you think
the flaps on his tires?
Oh, I know.
Oh my God.
You still see those. You still see those. I went to a bar. Oh, actually the bar was called like Truck or something. I don't think Truck exists anymore, but it was here in San Francisco. And it was it was all themed out like it was a trucker bar. That was its jam. That trucker guy would have loved it there. And they had those mud flaps up on the wall. And somewhere I have a picture of me and my friend Kate, like under those mud flaps. And we're like, we're just cracking up and like looking at them and cracking up because we're like, what the fuck? Like, why is that a decorating choice? But whatever. Do you think you're more like Thelma or more like Louise?
Louise, of course.
See, I think I might be more like Thelma. I think that's why we're a good match.
I think that's why we're friends.
Yeah. Well, you need that. You need that
balance.
Yeah. I can be a little too trusting, and you're like, fuck that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not at all. I'm very salty.
I'm sure people who follow Dorking Out or follow us on Twitter have probably seen the difference, where I'm just like, I am going to totally engage with you and try to talk with you. And you're like, you're blocked. Fuck off. You're the Louise.
I am the Louise. And I'm a good tipper.
You are a good tipper. I have no doubt about that. This movie had the unfortunate problem of coming out the same year as Silence of the Lambs. So I actually think it probably...
Stop it.
Yeah, I think it would have won more awards if it hadn't, because I do think this movie is really... I think their performances are so great. And obviously, like, both of them couldn't win, like, all the awards, but I think they're really, really great in this movie. And it won awards for screenplay, which feels right to me. But
yes,
but the cinematography is also really great. I think they are really great. I think it would have won more stuff, but Silence of the Lambs is a damn near masterpiece. So sorry.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
There can only be one winner.
I didn't even ask you, what did you think when you first saw that ending?
I loved it. I mean, I was for a second there, I'm like, they're really going to go for it. And then I was pleased that I like the freeze frame.
Yeah.
And then I like it when they take them back to taking selfies and like their whole adventure. I mean, I thought it was perfect. But of course, I met with people who are like, oh, I don't know. How does it really end? They just don't really. It's like the Sopranos ending or other endings that are ambiguous that people get. Well, what, I'm just like, no, it's perfect. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be.
I read about a couple of alternate endings, and one of them was actually shot, and I watched it last night on YouTube, and I found it disturbing, and I kind of wish I hadn't seen it, which is...
Oh, why?
Because it doesn't freeze frame when the car goes over the cliff. It continues to show the car kind of tip to the side and, like, go down the cliffs, and it's just more harsh. It's just more concrete.
I don't need that.
I don't need it. Like, I know what's going to happen, but I don't need to see it. And that's what I decided, where I was like, no, we didn't need to see that. I kind of wish I hadn't seen it. And then I read that there was another ending being floated around, which they never shot. And apparently Susan Sarandon was a real stickler about the ending. Like, she only agreed to do the movie if they stuck to the original ending. But there was talk of an ending where she pushes Thelma out of the car and she goes off the cliff. And I'm like, I would hate that ending.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I would hate it. That's a totally different movie at that point, and I would hate it.
Bye, Thelma. Go back to your shitty husband.
Exactly.
Welcome to prison.
Exactly. I'm going to die, and you're going back to your shitty life and or prison. Goodbye. Like, I would hate it. That's a totally different ending. And
no, that's stupid.
No. I'm glad they didn't even shoot that. It's so good. What else can I possibly say? It's just really, really good. This was one of the first movies I think I saw where it really was about women and telling like women's stories, and it was told from their point of view, and the men characters were not important. They weren't important. They were there, but they weren't important. They weren't driving the story. And I hadn't seen a lot of movies like that. Like I said, I was 20 years old maybe when I saw this movie. This movie blew my fucking mind, blew my 20-year-old mind when I saw it. Because I was like, it's all about women and what we experience, but dialed up, obviously. Like, we've all had nasty, gross truck drivers make those gestures at us all the time, right? Because dudes are fucking gross. I don't know what they think is gonna happen when they do that, but it happens.
They're just playing the odds.
They totally
That's what I heard. One guy told me. He's just playing the odds. Like, if you just hit on every woman, a few of them are gonna say yes.
Oh my God.
So I know, it's so gross.
I'm all, really though? Do any of them say yes? I guess so.
Yeah, I guess that has to if they keep doing it.
So the guy that they kill, because he, is a fucking rapist. God, how many women he must have raped before he finally got killed. This was clearly his thing.
Yeah.
Like, he would go to this bar. He would get women to dance. He would get them really like pour booze down their throat and then do that. What a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. I'm not sad he's dead.
Mm-mm.
Do you want to hear about some of the other people who were talked about for casting? It's pretty long list.
Yes, please.
Okay. So when the Kelly Corey originally wrote the script, she was originally thinking of Holly Hunter and Frances McDormand as the leads.
Ooh.
And I'm like,
that would work.
I'm like, that'd be good too. I'm like, they should just remake the movie with them now. I would watch it. They could do a shot-for-shot remake. I'd still watch it.
It's true, actually.
Other people that were attached at some point, Kim Basinger was offered the role of Thelma, which I'm like, maybe. Yeah. Jodie Foster.
Yes, absolutely.
But she did Silence of the Lambs, obviously. Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm like, yeah. And then apparently Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn were a duo attached to this at one point as well. And I'm like, that would be a very commercial movie, and I'd be very curious to see how that movie would end.
I just seen a Meryl Streep movie this week, and Meryl just commits completely.
She does.
To what she's doing. So that would be an interesting combination.
Yeah. I mean, they did Death Becomes Her together, but this is obviously a very different movie, I think. I don't know if I can see Goldie Hawn in that part as Thelma, basically. I assume that's how it would break down, that Meryl Streep would be Louise and Goldie Hawn would be Thelma, but maybe. I love Goldie Hawn.
She's a great actress.
Yeah. I also read that Christopher McDonald was given the role after Gina Davis kind of positioned him as someone to take the role. And apparently they used to be an item.
Oh, good for them.
But she broke up with him when she met Jeff Goldblum on the set of Transylvania 65000.
What a shitty movie that is. Is that before or after The Fly?
I think it's before The Fly. Because I think they met on that movie and then they did The Fly together. And The Fly is fucking great. And she's so great in that movie. They both are. They both are.
Yeah.
But I was bummed when they broke up. That seemed like a good couple.
Jeff Goldblum seems creepy to me.
Yeah, he probably is. But back in the day, I was like, that seemed like a good couple. They also did Earth Girls Are Easy together. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
It's okay.
Michael Madsen, Brad Pitt. Oh, there were a couple people up for the Brad Pitt part. So the original person was Billy Baldwin. We just did We just did an episode on Sliver with Billy Baldwin. He's a good-looking guy, but he is no Brad Pitt.
Oh God, no.
You need some serious charisma for that role. And no, that is not Billy Baldwin. I don't think Billy Baldwin could bring the personality to it that it needed.
There's a lot he can't do with the part. I mean, let's just move on.
So also very close to getting that part was George Clooney.
George could have done it.
Yeah. George Clooney, he was not a movie star at the time. ER was not a thing. Like, he was like, hey, it's that dude from Facts of Life. Like,
with the eyebrows.
With the eyebrows. Yeah. And then other people, Mark Ruffalo auditioned. I'm like, he seems too thinky.
Serious.
Serious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Apparently, at some point, Robert Downey Jr. was attached. And I'm like...
I could see that.
But then when they cast Gina Davis, they recast because Robert Downey Jr. was too short.
She's 6 feet tall.
Yeah, she's really tall. And then
she's a tall
also,
girl.
At some point, Christian Slater was almost cast. And I feel like he would have been too young.
Too young and too smarmy at that time.
Yeah.
He already did that role.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his whole thing in Heathers.
Yeah. The thing about Brad Pitt was you don't think that he's gonna rob her. Like, because he's so charming. Christian Slater, you'd be immediately like, he's gonna murder them. Like, he's too...
Yes, exactly.
He's got too much of a creep factor. And I'm not saying the person. I'm talking about just the way he acts. Sometimes he's a little bit of a creep in his performances. So, yeah, none of those people. And I wanted to tell you, instead of talking about other movies that came out in 91, because we just did Truth or Dare and listed a shit ton of movies, I thought we could talk about other movies that were nominated for Oscars.
That's a good category.
Okay.
Go for it.
So Thelma Louise was nominated for Best Director, and that was Ridley Scott. And also nominated was Oliver Stone for JFK, Barry Levinson.
I like JFK.
That movie is a mess.
It's bananas.
And fascinating. I think it's
exactly.
I think it's on our list.
It's absolutely on our list. I've seen the movie like 100 times.
Oh my gosh, I have not, but we could definitely talk about it sometime. Barry Levinson for Bugsy, a movie that...
Yeah, that movie's terrible.
I'm like, it had parts I liked, but it's certainly not something I've revisited.
Best Picture?
It was nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. So this is Best Director. John Singleton for Boys in the Hood, and that was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
Because he was young.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. He was young. He was like 26 or something when he was
very young.
When he was nominated. And I don't know if an African American had been nominated for directing before him, which is stupid. No. So stupid. But the winner was Jonathan Demme for Silence of the Lambs, which, sure.
And that's a perfectly directed movie.
It is. I love Silence of the Lambs. Love it.
I am too. I'm a big supporter of it. Do you want to hear about some of the songs?
I do. Oh, wait. I wanted to tell you about Best Actress, too, because both Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon were nominated for Best Actress. Neither of them were going to win. They were going to split the vote, even if it was close. The other people were Laura Dern for Rambling Rose. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Bette Midler for the Boys.
Terrible movie. Terrible movie. Oh my God, it's making me angry.
And then the winner was obviously Jodie Foster for Silence of the Lambs. And then for screenplay, Thelma Louise won. And then the other ones nominated were Boys in the Hood, Bugsy, Fisher King, which you also hate, and Grand Canyon.
Hate. It's okay.
Which I remember liking at the time, but I can't say I've revisited since I saw it in the theater. And now I'm ready to hear some songs. Tell me.
Okay. So this is from the summer of 1991. I can't believe this. It's like, this is all top radio. Genesis, I Can't Dance. So stupid.
That's a song your parents love, for sure.
Oh, that's yacht rock right there.
Yeah.
U2, Mysterious Ways. Really good song.
I was obsessed with that whole album.
Octone Baby is a great album.
I listen to it all the time.
This was played everywhere. Tom Cochrane, Life is a Highway.
Could not get away from that song.
Could not escape that song. Okay, it gets better. Boys to Men, Uptown Philly. Good song.
It's such a good song.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Summertime. Great song.
I still love that song. That's a really
great
good
song.
One.
And then this is one of my favorites. Color Me Bad. I Want to Sex You Up.
I just heard that
great
song. I just heard it yesterday. I was flipping around on the Sirius XM and that song came up and I was like, I remember that song. It was from the movie New Jack City. It
was also on the radio all the time.
No, you couldn't get away from it. And that band was so weird.
Yeah.
They were a weird group. I think were they just like put together by a studio or something? They weren't like friends or anything, right? Because they were weird. Thanks for talking about Thelma and Louise with me, my friend. This was super fun. Where can they find you on the internet, Margo?
You can find me on the internet at Brooklyn Fitchick, mostly for Twitter and Instagram. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And if you like the sound of our voices, and of course you do, who doesn't? You could listen to us at What a Creep Podcast, where we talk about creeps and we end every episode with someone who's not a creep. And we're having so much fun over there. And there's a private Facebook group. So if you want to join, just type in What a Creep Podcast. And if you don't look like Christopher McDonald, maybe we'll let you in. You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And you can find Dorking Out wherever you listen to your podcasts. You're listening right now. If you want some stickers, you can email us at dorkingoutshow@gmail.com. This was super fun. Let's hold hands and drive off a cliff together. Are you ready?
I'm in.
Let's go.